We're back. What I'm going to do is the negative energy from that thing that they put around is so strong that I just need to get away from it. Whenever you encounter negative energy in your life, get rid of it immediately. Just move out of the situation, get the person or the situation gone. You can't win. All it is just negative energy. You're not going to be able to change it. You don't want to waste your time. Just get the hell away from it. So we're going to get the hell away from it. So we found a nice little spot here. It's nice. The sun is out, so I'll just sit here. It's a tiny little spot. I get used to this. But the main point is you need your freedom. A keyword. So where are we? I woke up this morning, and so the situation now is that I went through the most extreme hatred and evil and darkness over the Christmas holidays. I had expected my sister and I, her name is Kelly, in order to destroy me, the Illuminati and the Canada Secret Police and the Department of Homeland Security, the evil is all through this thread of these people. They tried to make my Christmas as depressing and lonely and sad as possible, hoping that I would finally end my life and or that I would finally turn against God. I have no clothes. The Toronto police stole all my clothes before I left in late August. I have one pair of pants, a pair of socks, a pair of shoes, no underwear, one t-shirt, a hoodie, and a coat that I got when I was in Whitehorse. That's it. That's my life's possessions now. After living on this planet for several decades, I do not own one possession except this phone and the clothing I just told you about. That is how violent and predatory the police in Canada are, that they have destroyed my life. They've trashed it completely. They've taken everything away from me. I have nothing. In their hatred of human life, the clone police went so far as to separate my sister from me under Bill C-51. That's the old anti-terrorism legislation. The Parliament Hill shootings, remember, in October of 2014 were a false flag. They were staged. Stephen Harper, the former Canadian Prime Minister, staged them in order to provide some justification for his anti-terrorism legislation, which was Bill C-51. The false flag of 9/11 was also a false flag. The Twin Towers were not brought down by Muslim extremists. They were brought down by American citizens. Most importantly, they were brought down by some of the most elite, some of the most powerful and richest people in American society caused that event. They did it because of their greed and their evil. Once again, the Twin Tower bombings of 9/11 were not caused by Muslim extremists at all. They were caused by American citizens. They were caused by American citizens who have been former presidents of the United States, who have been former senators, who are some of the most elite business people in America, some of the richest and most powerful in America caused that destruction, not foreigners. It was American citizens. So similarly, the October 2014 Parliament Hill bombings were not caused by Muslim extremists at all. They were caused by extremists who were Canadian-born citizens. Most notably Stephen Harper, former Canadian Prime Minister. Under terms of that bill, someone can hold someone in jail for up to 5 years without any proof, and just label them as a terrorist and a threat to the state. And as long as they get a corrupt judge, of which there are many, to sign the proper papers, they can throw someone in jail or separate a brother and sister, which is what was done to my sister and me. I have not seen my sister since at least August 25th, 2014. I have not had one Christmas with her since then. This past year, when I came to Vancouver, I guess it was late November, I was hoping that I would be able to see my sister by Christmas time. I had hoped that the Canadian and American governments were going to facilitate reunification of me with my sister. I do have post-traumatic stress disorder. Having my sister in my life would be beneficial to me in so many ways. It would immediately give me an emotional contact, a friend, a colleague, some sort of support, and they don't want that, of course, because they want to destroy me and cripple me and ultimately murder me. So Bill C-51 was sodomized much more or less the same way the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms has been sodomized by Canada's power elites, the secret police, the clones, and the Illuminati, to victimize and persecute Canadian citizens. Not being able to see my sister has crushed me. It has caused permanent damage, and just what we were saying about being distracted. I just want you to see. That's not a coincidence. So where we are is, I was certain I was going to be with my sister at Christmas. Instead, what the American and Canadian governments did was falsely imprison me again. I spent Christmas Eve in prison because of fake charges at the RCMP, which is completely corrupt. When I was escaping a death camp in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, which had electrified fencing and hidden culverts and gulches so that people trying to flee and run out of it would break their legs, sliding down hills or sliding down ditches that they couldn't see because they were hidden, or they would be electrified, running into fences which were hidden that they couldn't see in the nighttime. It took me 6 hours to climb out of that goddamn death camp. It was hidden in a valley. It took me 6 straight hours to climb out of it. At the top of it, when I got out of it at 4 o'clock in the morning, there were RCMP officers at the top of it hiding behind bushes. I could see them where the angle I was coming from the moon. They hid and they waited till they got to the top of the hill outside this valley where the death camp was located, and they had a man there ready, and he was stationed to call the police or make a fake phone call claiming that I was causing a public disturbance. The truth of the matter is, I got to the top of the hill, there was a train track, I started following the train track out. This man's house was off to the right, there was a dog there, the house was off to the right, and the dog started barking, and the man called the cops and claimed that I was causing a public nuisance at 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, if your dog starts barking, that's not my business. Of course, the whole thing was bullshit. So what we see there is the whole thing was a setup, and they were able to put me in prison for 24 hours. They stole my bank card, so I had no money. This charge, apparently there was a court date set after it, whatever. I didn't go. And so a fake altercation was made on the train coming back. I couldn't find my train ticket. It was somewhere on me. I just was so flustered. And remember, this had been after 3.5 years of gang stalking, so I couldn't find it. They jumped to the fact that they were going to arrest me, and then they were able to run my name through the database and find these outstanding warrants and justify in their minds, in their perverted minds, imprisoning me on Christmas Eve. That was by the RCMP. That is how dirty and filthy and corrupt those cops are. I was imprisoned in jail, and I missed Christmas Eve Mass. This was all done to destroy me. They stole, if you can imagine, my gloves. They stole all my money. On Christmas Eve, I slept on the concrete here. I slept on the concrete right here in downtown Vancouver. I had no bed, I had no food, I had no money. So they made sure that I slept Christmas Eve and Christmas Day evenings hungry and freezing in the cold. I had no clothes, I had no money, I had no food, I had no bed. So they made sure that I spent Christmas Eve and Christmas Day evening sleeping outside in the cold on concrete in the winter. That's how the darkness of the clone cops here, the violent clone cops, and the Canadian and American governments left me. Remember, the American government is intimately involved in this now because they specifically threw me back in here on April 28th, knowing that their own manual, the Kubark manual, if you do a Google search, you'll find it. It's a human torture techniques perfected by the Central Intelligence Agency of the United States government. They actually had a whole manual that they came up with in the 1970s called the Kubark, K-U-B-A-R-K, Google it, a manual on how to torture human citizens for the gains of the United States empire. This manual, they claim, they don't use, but by God, they're using it. Google it and you'll find out exactly what they've been doing to me for the past 3.5 years. They threw me back in here to continue torturing me using these torture techniques that they perfected, and they did that all through Christmas. The goal was to get me so depressed and sad that I committed suicide or just gave up on God, because they want my soul. None of that's happened, of course, but what has happened is not being near my sister has caused a gigantic problem for me. I had set my hopes up that I was going to be with Kelly, and I'm not. I don't know where Kelly is. No one will tell me where Kelly is. The RCMP cop on Christmas Eve bullshitted me and just said, oh, she's fine. But she wouldn't tell me where she was or give me any information at all. I asked her, could you just pass on a message? You don't have to get back to me. You could just say, this is that you met me and that I'm fine and that here's my message. She refused. A day before that, though, I will say that I was walking along Vancouver streets. 3 alleged police officers stopped by in big trucks. 3 of them circled me, and none of them had Vancouver Police logo on their jackets, on their clothing, or on their vehicles. These 3 people got out of their trucks, bullied me and intimidated me and threatened me, claiming that they were law enforcement, but yet they wouldn't tell me which law enforcement agency they were from. They wouldn't give me any information at all, stating whether they were with the RCMP, whether they were provincial police, whether they were with the Vancouver police, nothing. And they mocked and just ridiculed me that I was a second-class citizen because I'm human, and that I was their subject and I would obey them. We are now at this point, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say, no, this is bullshit. Fuck you. This will never happen. This is the end of video 2. We'll now go into the 3rd video. We're on to 3 then. And the 3rd video will tell you exactly where we are today, why the situation is so explosive, and why it will be over very soon.